There we are. We're live. So, hi everyone. This is Thomas Newman of VIVA Financial Tuition. I'm being joined by my colleagues Hugo Newman and Hugh Martin.
Hello.
Hello.
And this is the fourth Ask Me Anything session that we've done recently. We started these sessions about 6 weeks ago or so, and we've really enjoyed doing them. I think they're helpful sessions for students who have Cima-related doubts. So if you have any doubts about, objective tests or case studies, if you're preparing for any of those exams, by all means, fire your questions at us. So this session is going to be recorded, and you should get a replay of the recording in the next 24 hours that you'll be able to access. But because you're attending live, you have the great advantage of being able to actually ask questions. And there are two ways to ask questions. First of all, you've got a chat button there to the right of the webinar. So you see this little chat icon. You can type your questions in there. And secondly, if you're brave, you can request to speak. So there's a speak icon. There's a little icon right down at the end of the icon list. And that's a bit hit and miss. We've tried to get people on to speak their questions. Which is great because we get to see people and we get to know people, and it's a bit hit and miss, as I said. But feel free to use that, so you can, if you're granted access, if your request is approved, which it will be, you will go on camera and you'll speak your question instead. So they're the two ways to ask your questions. I should point out that we are not Cima, okay? So we are a private tuition company, and we don't represent Cima or anything like that. So if you have any questions, relating to problems you've had booking exams or anything like that, it would be better to address those questions directly to Cima. However, we'll be able to help you with any questions you have about the best approach to study certain subjects or technical difficulties you're having with certain theoretical points. So yeah. I think we'll get started then. I can see there's some comments coming through, so keep your questions coming through. We've got about an hour. Let's see. We've got the first question there from Sanjita. Would the content of the Essentials package relate to the May 2021 OCS, or do we have to wait to purchase it? So I presume, Sanjita, you're referring to the VIVA Essentials pack. So VIVA has a number of offerings for the different case studies and objective tests. And as always, we're updating our course materials for the upcoming May 2021 case studies, including the OCS. And the first session at the moment, the February 2021 OCS materials are on the website. We're not allowed to release any new May 2021 OCS material until Cima has released the prescene to students, and Cima is releasing the prescene to students tomorrow. So from tomorrow onwards, we will be allowing students to access the May 2021 VIVA course materials. Okay, so you don't have to wait. You can purchase it now if you want, and as soon as Cima releases the prescene, you'll have access to the May version of the course on our site. Second question from Sanjita, is all of the Essentials course content available in the All Access package? Yes, it is. So the All Access package that's the membership you pay for 1 year. That actually unlocks all of the VIVA courses from E1 all the way through to the SCS. So that's all of the objective test courses, E1, F1, P1, E2, F2, P2, E3, F3, P3, plus all of the courses for our case studies that are updated each window. The next question there, do one of you guys want to try it?
Sure. Let's see, where am I starting, from the bottom or the top? I suppose the bottom.
Bottom, yeah.
So this is Nankulu Leko. Does the core material cover everything, or will we have to use other materials to cover other topics? Well, in the course area, you'll find there are 4 separate tabs. So you have the foundational materials, core materials, supplementary materials, and mock exams. And so the core material does cover all of the syllabus content. Okay, when it comes to, say, for example, the objective test courses, between the videos and the textbook and the practice questions, that should cover you for everything in the syllabus. But that's not to say that you should only focus on the core materials. Of course, you should focus as well on the mock exams. We highly recommend you look at the foundational materials as well. Usually it's a good idea to start with foundational materials and then work your way through to the core materials. And you'll also find very useful items in the supplementary materials section as well. You'll find some articles on study approaches, how to write an answer, maximizing your chances of passing objective exams, and so on and so forth. So yes, all of the syllabus content you will find in the core materials section, but that doesn't mean that you should only focus on the core materials part of the course.
Yeah.
So I see there's a question there. It's a private question, so I'll exclude the name, but the question says, is there any calculations questions in P3? And the answer to that is yes, but not very many. So the only area that I can think of is VAR, which many students, I suppose, forget about, which is on the P3 syllabus, value at risk and confidence intervals, etc. That's the only area where I believe you'd have calculations, but one to look at.
Great. Yeah. Let's see. We've got a few questions then, I think, on the SCS. Do you want to take that one, Hugh, from Rick Heel?
Sure. So it says, thanks for running these sessions. Really appreciate that. Thank you very much. What would you recommend would be a good approach to prep for SCS at the moment? What's your key tips to pass the SCS? How different is the SCS to the MCS? Thanks in advance. So, Rick, we're actually running a session on how to maximize your marks for the upcoming SCS sitting. Okay, so we'll be running that class, I think, in a week's time. If I'm not mistaken, Thomas, I think this day next
Thursday,
week.
yeah.
And that's a free session, so you'll be able to view that session if you want. Okay.
Yeah, don't miss that session. That is a really good session, and it's free. Hugh's doing it, and I've seen the content. We've done them for the OCS. We're doing one tonight for the MCS, and really, really good start if you're sitting the SCS. Highly recommend it. We'll send the link. Well, we'll put the link now in the webinar. So Hugh, while you're chatting away there, I'll find that link.
Thanks so much for that. Yeah. So like basically that session will help you in terms of what you should be focusing on inside the exam. But in terms of what's different between the MCS and the SCS, well, the SCS has 3 sections. Each section is 60 minutes in length, whereas the MCS, as you know, probably already, there's 4 sections, 45 minutes each. I think that 3 sections means that really you have to write a little bit more at the SCS level. You have to have a deeper understanding of the syllabus across P3, F3 and E3. There's less accounting standards that you have to understand. So at the MCS level, you have to have a good level of understanding of different financial standards from F2. At the SCS level, there's not really any financial standards that are tested really to a significant degree. So that's a big change. It's less, I suppose, prescriptive in that sense. I suppose for the SCS, it's a little bit more tricky because you have to have quite a comprehensive answer. You have to develop your paragraphs out quite to a significant degree. So I think that's a big change between the MCS and the SCS. But I think the timing is a big one, the structure of the paper. The questions are a little bit more vague as well. They're a bit more open-ended. Don't know if you've any input on that, Hugo. Anything to add on to that? Or
in terms of the SCS, I mean, you're well, obviously it's the clues in the name. You're expected to have a more strategic perspective, more long-term, looking at the values, objectives of the organization, things like that. Take a more holistic approach. I know these words sound a little bit kind of wishy-washy, but they're actually quite substantive. You have to show an ability and capacity to integrate different points of view, financial, non-financial. I would say that's what they're really looking for at the SCS level.
I think as well, you might be expected to offer a recommendation, rather than just being expected to help out and to present 2 sides of an argument. You'd be expected to do that, but you would also then be expected to go further, perhaps, and make a recommendation, a strategic recommendation. So.
Okay, so the next one from Cindy, I can just see it there right above. Hi, I'm just prepping for the P2 exam. Okay, so a tough exam there, P2, and completed most of the VIVA mocks. I was wondering what mock pass score should I be achieving before attempting the actual exam? Is the difficulty of the mocks comparable to the actual objective test? Thanks. Well, Cindy, I suppose it depends to a certain extent, because difficulty is somewhat relative, and when you go in to do your OT paper, your version of the OT will be different to another student. So Cima has a bank of 200 or 300 questions, and your paper, whilst it may have some questions that another student may have done, will be different. So I suppose it's hard to compare like with like, because some people are good at the investment appraisal type questions, some people find them very difficult. Just depends on your own personal preference for the the areas of P2 that perhaps you find difficult. I suppose, to give you a simple answer, yeah, our question banks are somewhat indicative of what you'll get on the day. We've basically written our questions in line with the syllabus, as Cima would have as well when they were putting their questions together. So whilst you're not going to get the exact same questions, the themes will certainly be the same. So yeah, to answer your question in that regard. With the score, what I used to do for my objective test was, as soon as I passed 2 mock exams in a row, that's when I knew I could pretty comfortably go into the exam and pass it. And in my time with Cima, I never failed an objective test with that kind of methodology. So if you find perhaps you sit maybe 2 mock exams in a row and you pass, I think that's probably a good sign. To what degree or by how much you pass, I didn't really read too much into that myself. It was either I passed or didn't, so that'd probably be how I would approach it myself.
Yeah. So Carabo asks, for the MCS, when is the live session? And is it similar to the OCS one sent out via email this past week with a Facebook group link? For clarity, I haven't received an email about the MCS session. So we'll be kicking off our MCS course on the 3rd of April. I think it's the Saturday, 3rd of April. And we have emailed out that link to the free session to our subscriber list, but maybe you're not a member of maybe you're not subscribed. And what I'll do is I will include that link now. And Hugh is doing a session tonight, actually, which you might also be interested in, on MCS answer technique, securing top marks. So I'll also include a link there. So just one second. So this link that I'm including in the chat box now is for tonight's MCS answer technique session. And the second link I'm going to include is for the free pre-scene analysis of the MCS on Saturday, 3rd of April. Okay, which is also a free session. So you can register at those 2 links I've just included there. Okay.
Okay,
so yeah.
I think there's a question about last week's OCS answer technique webinar that I did. So one of the students is saying, I was hoping it would be sent on my email, but I did not get anything. Thanks. So that's probably the recording that's sent out after.
I think Andile, first of all, you would have had to register for that, okay, to receive the email with the replay. So that would be the first thing. If you didn't register, you won't get that link. If you did register, you should get the replay. So if you did register for that session and didn't get the replay, please let us know, and I can send you the replay.
Okay, so Mikhail says, do you have to do any calculations in the actual SCS exam? The short answer there is no, not necessarily. So you won't be tested on your Modigliani and Miller or regearing betas or anything like that. Now, chances are you won't be. We can't definitively say that you won't be, but We're 99.9% certain that you won't be. However, though, inside the SCS exam, it is a good idea if you're asked questions based on capital structure and you have the gearing of the organization, if you want to recalculate the gearing, taking on debt or taking on equity to justify your answer. So say, for example, the company is taking on loads of debt. You may be able to recalculate your gearing to say, well, look at the impact it's going to make on the organization. Sometimes that's a good point to bring into your answer. It shows that you understand the impact of a certain strategy. A lot of top students do that. You'll see that inside the Cima suggested solutions sometimes as well. So quick calculation sometimes just to kind of back up your answer maybe, but nothing major.
Yeah. Okay. I think we have a P question maybe there from Marley.
Okay. A project requires 200 kg of material P. There's 500 kg of material P in inventory. Any materials not used in the project will need to be disposed of at a cost of $1 per kg. What is the relevant cash flow? I think you need a bit more information in there because if you accept the project, they have to be disposed of. So technically, the full 500 kg is relevant. But I think you're lacking a bit of information to understand what the relevant cash flow is. But because everything has to be disposed of, it would be the full 500. But I think there's a bit of confusion here. If we decide to take on the project, we have to dispose everything that's in inventory. So if you could add in extra information, that'd be handy for us just to know that.
Yeah. Maz, are there any F3 webinars coming up? I'm an all access member, but haven't received any notifications. Thanks. Okay, Maz. So for our all access members this year, we're running in excess of 150 live webinars. And they cover all of the subjects, both case studies, OCS, MCS, and SCS, and all of the objective test subjects. But they kind of come in at different times. So in the early part of the year, we've done a lot of F1 and F2 webinars, for example. We'll be doing quite a few P1 webinars in the next couple of months. We'll be doing a couple of P2, sort of June, July. And F3, realistically, we'll be doing those more towards the end of the year. So maybe sort of August, September, October. We will notify you if you're an all access member of all of those live sessions. We always send out the links to our all access members. Let's see. Truly asks, would Viva be looking to start a podcast for Cima students? Hosted by the fantastic three, Hugo, Hugh, and Thomas. I really appreciate all your webinars. Thank you. That's a lovely comment, Truly. Thank you very much. So, I don't think we're going to challenge Joe Rogan anytime soon, but, it's interesting. It's a very interesting comment. I think these sort of AMA sessions cover a lot of the bases maybe that we'd be covering in podcasts or anything like that. And we have to kind of narrow our focus as well and not get distracted by absolutely everything we could be doing. So we have a blog. We do a lot of the, live webinars. We're always sort of adding content to the courses that we have on the website. So we're basically very, very busy already. I think adding in a podcast, it would be a lovely thing to do, but I don't really think we'll have the time. I think these AMA sessions will carry a lot of that weight anyway, but it's a good suggestion. Good, Carabo. You're attending tonight's MCS session. That'll be well worth it. And Dile says, yes, I did register for the webinar and I attended the session. Yes, okay. Then you should have gotten a replay link. So I'll send that replay link to you after. Okay. Okay. Marley, I think, is adding more information there to we're accepting the project.
Yes. So I think, Marley, the confusion for us is more so that the question says that you have to dispose of the inventory if you accept the project. But I suppose it would be, in normal circumstances, it would just be the 200 kilos because that's all you're using. But if you have to dispose of inventory, as a result of accepting the project, and whatever's there has to be entirely disposed of, then it's the full 500. But if you have 500 and you're buying in 200, it doesn't really make any sense. I think that's the confusion for me.
Yeah.
I think Carabo said something there, Tom, about wanting the pre-scene analysis session link for the MCS. But I guess that's not coming, or that hasn't been sent out yet, or...
Well, no, I included it. The MCS pre-scene analysis webinar, the free webinar, the first session we're going to do.
Yeah. Okay,
I included the link.
Okay.
That's taking place on Saturday, 3rd of April. And we sent it out. I think we sent a general email out to our subscribers on Sunday. But Carabo might not be on the mailing list. So... yeah, okay, so Sanjita says, please can I have the OCS replay link as well? I registered and joined the webinar. So this is a bit strange. You know, you're meant to receive the replay link 12 hours after the session, so obviously there's something going wrong there. I'll send that to you too, Sanjita. Okay, no problem. Isuru says the E3 course book available under the course materials mentions for exams from November 2019 to January 2021. Is there an updated course book? So we're waiting on the updated book. We work with BPP. They're a partner of ours, and we're expecting them to send through the updated texts. I don't think there's going to be much change, to be quite honest with you. It's going to be almost all of the same material. We should have the new text soon, but don't expect them to change very much.
So Truly says, what is the mindset for the SCS exam? Do you really have to think like a C-suite advisor? Well, it's a good question. I suppose to a certain extent, you're a senior finance manager very often. Majority of pre-scenes, they start off by saying you're a senior finance manager in an organization. So I suppose to a certain extent, you're an advisor. As Thomas said, you're making recommendations, you're providing evaluations. You see that verb being used a lot in the SCS exam: evaluate this, recommend with reasons, give justification for. So yeah, to a certain extent, you're an advisor. It's probably a useful way of looking at it. You're asked to give input, typically on strategies. So, is the strategy in line with the organization? Does it make sense? Is it suitable, acceptable, feasible, that kind of stuff? So yeah, you are essentially an advisor to a certain degree.
So Carabo says, I'm an all access member. Do I have to do something extra to get onto the mailing list? So we have a free subscription mailing list, and we send out probably weekly emails with links. We try not to bother people. Basically, we try to include links to free webinars and things like that. The fact that you're an all access member, Carabo, means you're a VIP at VIVA, all right? So actually today or tomorrow, we will be sending out not just that first MCS webinar link, but all 7 live webinar links for our entire MCS course for May. We'll be sending all of those links to you today, tomorrow, most likely tomorrow. So don't worry about that. Yeah, and Cindy, will the recording of the live sessions for the case studies and the PFE pillars be available on the site for all access members? Yeah, Cindy, so we will provide you with a link, as I just said to Carabo, for whatever case study you're sitting. So whether it's OCS, MCS, or SCS, if you're an all access member, you have all of those links. So you can attend the live sessions, and we record those sessions and we put them up on the website a day, 2 days after. So if you want to go back and view the stuff again, even if you've attended the live sessions, you can go on to vivatuition.com and view all of it again at your own pace. So you get the best of both worlds there. You get the live session and the recordings that you can access at any time.
Definitely recommend going to those, Cindy.
Yes.
I would say not biased or anything, but it's but a good idea to see them live, because you can ask questions, which is always useful for students,
Yeah. I think as well, with the live sessions, they're more engaging. On demand stuff, it's very, very useful. It's super practical. You can watch it in small bites. But if you've got a schedule of live classes, it forces you to come along and stick to a schedule, and it's more interactive. It's more fun to attend for the student, and it's more fun for the tutor as well to do. We find that. Okay, so keep the questions coming, guys. We've still got a bit of time. I'd be interested to know how many of you are thinking of sitting a case study exam in May, whether it's the OCS, MCS, or SCS.
It's a good time to do the case study exam, if I'm being honest, because if for example it doesn't work out for you, and we hope that it obviously you will pass, but if it doesn't work out, you can always do the next sitting, which would be based on the same prescene. So most people would recommend you do the first window, the May window or the November one.
Yeah.
That's it. No problem, Cindy.
Okay.
Should we get fantastic 3 T-shirts for the next?
Yeah, that's right.
Fantastic 3. Very good.
I like it. Yes, interesting. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Sitting the OCS. We've got 2 OCS sitters in May. Good stuff. Yeah, get along to the live sessions that we're doing. For certainly the first one. We're kicking off our OCS course on this Saturday. It's Hugh who'll be doing the first half of the prescene, and that's a free session. So you should already have that link. And the other 6 live sessions are coming then in the following weeks. Yeah, another OCS with SCS. Okay, quite a few people. Very good. That's great. Okay, guys, any more questions?
I work for a merchandising company.
Very good.
Maz, when is the new website going to be launched?
How did you know that, Maz? That's something we've only really been discussing internally. No, actually, I think I mentioned something on the previous AMA session.
So.
Yes, we've got a super duper fantastic new website on the way. It's a big project for us, so we're trying to do a really, really good job on the site. So we're changing both the front end and the student area. So the blog and the homepage and all of that is going to be completely changed. The design be easier to navigate, and the student area will be adding features to that for the rest of this year, and that's more about the user experience and actually adding things that are useful for you as a student. So look, we're gonna so the new design of the website, it's most likely going to be end of June, start of July when you see that, and a new layout for the student area. So that's once you log in and you see your courses, that's coming quite soon. You're going to see changes there probably in the next month or so. And what you'll see is over the rest of the year, you're going to see new things being added in. So just to give you an idea, maybe some of the things that will change, the navigation of your courses will change. So when you're working through a course, let's say it's F2, you will have on the left-hand menu, you will have a full view of all of the elements of your course, and you'll work through them one by one. And as soon as you complete one part of the course, it will automatically take you to the next. So that's, that's coming pretty soon. Other things, like being able to compare your average scores on tests to the wider group taking that subject. You'll be able to enroll in courses and things like that, and that will allow you to be automatically notified when we're doing, live webinars for that particular course and things like that. another small sort of developments. So some are big, some are small, but probably there are probably about 15 to 20 new features that we will add in the next 3 to 6 months, I would say, as well as the change of design. So it's all about making it more user friendly, easier to use, more obvious what everything does, and adding things that give you useful information. So yeah, on the way, and it's coming. It's not a big bang change. It's a slow rollout. We'll launch, and over 4 or 5 phases, we'll update the site. Yes, Cindy, we will do live sessions for the MCS in August as well. So we're going to run live sessions for all of our case study windows this year.
What should we focus on? So this comes from Demacat. So what should we focus on between now and the May OCS? Well, between now and the May OCS, well, I suppose, tomorrow is a big day. The prescene is released. So you should have a really good level of knowledge of the prescene. That's really important. The next thing is you should understand all the financial standards that are testable. So, for example, IFRS 5, 16, IAS 10, IAS 2, IFRS 16. You should know these off the back of your hand. You should be able to apply them in any scenario. You'll see from the exam papers that they're all examinable, no matter what the prescene is. Cima can create a scenario where they are tested, so you should know those really well. P1 is really important for the OCS level. You'll see again, if you look at the exam papers, features very heavily in the questions. So it's very important that you understand P1. And of course, understanding E1 is important as well, because it gives you some context for some of the questions, and you'll see, there's technology related questions on the papers. These days in the new syllabus, the 2019 onward syllabus, there's lots of questions about digital costing, digital technology. That's the new theme of E1, completely changed from the last syllabus. So important that you know all those different things when you go into your exam. And of course, do mock papers as well. So you test all of that. That's probably the most important thing.
Yeah. Rick Heel asks, will you still be offering a mixture of packages for VIVA? For example, £79, £99, etc. So Rick Heel, for this coming May window, we will have a mixture of packages. So you'll be able to, if you only want to buy an OCS pack, you can do so. If you want access to everything on the site, that's through All Access membership. Eventually, and very soon, we will move just to the subscription model. So that would be All Access only. So we'll get rid of those individual course packs, and we will have a very simple offer. It will be All Access for 1 year, which currently exists, but also probably for 6 months and 3 months. And that's useful for students who, they want to sort of check it out before they commit to a year. So they take a 3-month option, or maybe they're coming towards the end of a qualification and they have 3 months. And so, look, it's the way a lot of purchasing is going. I'm sure you're very aware of how Netflix manages its business model, and Spotify. So, they offer access to everything that they have for, a monthly fee or yearly fee or whatever it is. And we will be doing something similar. And some students, I suppose, think, well, why do I want access to everything? I just want to do this one course. But it's very, very useful. So certainly if you're at the start of qualification, so if you're at the operational level or even the management level, it's extraordinarily good value to purchase a subscription membership, because it gives you access to all 12 courses. And you're incentivized then to move through the qualification. So as soon as you finish one, you don't have to pay anything else before moving on to the next course. If you're at the strategic level, it's still extremely valuable, because, more and more when we're doing, say, an SCS course, we're always recommending, okay, this particular theory is very, very important from E3, or this particular theory from P3, or this particular theory from F3. And it makes a lot of sense for students to go back and review those theories in more detail in the E3, F3, and P3 courses that we have. So increasingly what we're finding is that our students need to jump around between different subjects at any one time, especially for the case study. If you're taking a case study, it's not just about the OCS, it's about the OCS plus E1, F1, and P1. If you're taking the MCS, it's not just about the MCS course, it's about the MCS plus E2, F2, P2. So it makes more sense, the all-access subscription. You know, with Cima, you're never really studying one subject exactly in isolation, particularly with the case studies, and even with the objective tests. As you move through the qualification, let's say you get to F2, if you're not strong on the foundational features of F1, it can be very, very useful to go back and test yourself in some of those. And with a subscription membership, you can do that. You don't have to go and purchase the F1 course again. So that's the way we're going to go. It's just a much simpler way of doing things for us. It's much more useful for the student. So yeah, that'll be coming in the next few months. Okay, Sanjita says, would you recommend doing mock exams only related to the prescene? I mean, I suppose it's a little bit of a subjective question. Me personally, I see the value of going back and reading through past Cima scenarios and looking at past mock exams, but not spending too much time doing that, because I think some students, they go and they look at old prescenes, they take the old mock exams and they write answers to those mock exams. I think that's kind of a waste of time. I think what you want to be doing is focusing almost all of your effort on writing answers to the current prescene based on current mock exams. That's the way I would do it. So I would only do mock exam answers for the current prescene, and I would go back and read over. Yes, I would go back and read over some past exams, but not spend too much time on those. But I'm not sure if my colleagues agree with that as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's no point in looking at an old prescene document at all. But I think there's maybe value in looking at the February 20 and the May August 2021 or May August 20 and the February 20. My mind's all over the place. Having a look at those past papers because they're relevant to the 2019 syllabus. But really beyond that, there's not much point. You run the risk, if you look at really old exam papers, you run the risk of maybe thinking something's on the syllabus that perhaps isn't. You can kind of maybe worry yourself looking at the old papers as well. With the old papers before those two rounds, there's no indication as to how many marks are available for each subtask. So sometimes it can be difficult to understand how much time would have been allocated to that question or how many marks you could have been awarded. So I think it's easy to stick with those two windows. For the OCS, those are the only two windows that are on the cgma.org website at the moment, so you've no choice there anyway. But for the SCS and the MCS, you have a big wide variety of papers, and I think you probably run the risk if you look at the old ones, to be honest.
Yeah.
One thing I'd add to that, this is a kind of a side point. I remember, I think I recall a student saying on a forum perhaps or something like that, or suggesting that it's a good idea to look for prescene documents with similar companies to the one that's in the current prescene, and going back and looking at the mock exams for that particular prescene document. And I think that's a bad idea. I think that's you can go down the rabbit hole doing that kind of thing. In fact, I remember, if I remember correctly, a couple of years ago or a few years ago, there was a prescene document for the SCS. I think it was on gyms, and 2 rounds before that at the MCS level, there was also a prescene on gyms, I think it was. And the students wasted a huge amount of time going back and looking at the previous prescene that dealt with the gym. And it was completely irrelevant. Because of course it's a different level for one, but also even if it were the same level, there's no guarantee that you're going to get the same kinds of questions coming up, or even the same kinds of scenarios. So I think that's another just a kind of a warning to avoid that temptation to look for similar prescene documents in the past.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah, I remember that. I remember when that happened. And yeah, what Hugh said there as well, I think that's also a very important point, is because of the change in syllabus, I wouldn't go back that far with the review of old exams. I would stick with prescenes from the change of syllabus onwards. So that's from February 20, right?
February 20.
So
yeah.
look at pre-scenes and exams from February 20, May 20, May, August 20. I don't think they've released yet the November 20, February 21 past papers. That they'll be coming soon, I think. Okay. 5 forces.
So Caraba, that's a big question, and I think might tackle this as a team, but I'll read it out here. So please help me understand why the Eurostar option. So for everyone who isn't familiar with Eurostar, it's a train. So it's a train from England to France, basically. So why Eurostar is the correct answer here. So analysts are using Porter's 5 forces, and they regard the following as substitutes for tourist flights to Southeast Asia offered. B, airlines such as Malaysia Airlines or Singapore Airlines, flag carrier airlines. A, travel on Eurostar. B, flights offered by low-cost airlines such as AirAsia and Tiger Airways. C, flights provided by Royal, Brunel Airlines and Thai Airways, flag carriers, and D, video conferencing facilities. So I think in short, the question is, why is the Eurostar a substitute using Porter's 5 forces for flights to Southeast Asia? Okay, so I think that is the question there. I think to a certain extent it's because, I mean, the Eurostar is certainly not a substitute for a flight to Southeast Asia because there's no train that goes from England to Southeast Asia. So I don't think that's fully correct, but I think the concept is that, well, you know, trains could be a substitute for air travel. So for example, if I wanted to take the Eurostar to Paris and I lived in London, I also have the choice of flying, okay, assuming no coronavirus restrictions, okay? So that would be a substitute there. But I think in your scenario, I don't think that's technically correct, just given the fact that the Eurostar doesn't travel to Asia. So it's not really a substitute. Yeah. Don't know if the guys have any other...
Yeah, I'm just having trouble interpreting the question a little bit, but I think what you're saying, Hugh, it seems to me correct. I'm just kind of trying to decipher the question a bit.
I think you know, if it was a train service that was, you know, operating in Southeast Asia, then it's a substitute. Yeah, that would be my way of seeing it.
So, well, I mean, those airlines presumably could also operate routes between the destinations of Eurostar, right? I mean, just because they're from that, just because Singapore Airlines is based in Singapore, there might be connecting flights between the destinations of Eurostar, I guess, right? I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know how those airlines operate exactly. So I'm kind of.
I do. I remember I used to deal with some of these airlines in a previous life. So yeah, but I think the question is about, it's a substitute for tourist flights to Southeast Asia. Yeah, okay. And then there's video conferencing.
Of course.
Video conferencing would be a substitute, perhaps, in the case that it was commercial flights to Southeast Asia. You know, if it was business travelers going to meetings and things like that, but because it's a tourist, then it's not really a substitute. Yeah, so I get the question, but it's just a little bit. I think they should have opted for some kind of Asian Eurostar equivalent, and that would have been a very correct answer then. So it's a bit funny, but anyway. Okay, Shweta says, I was exempt from. Okay, so it's a question on our site. Okay, so please email us a screenshot there of the question if it's from E2, because it probably needs to be altered a little bit. It's a little bit confusing, that question. Okay, so Shweta says, I was exempt from operational exams and I'm preparing for the May OCS. I haven't had much time to cover E1 very well. What topics would you recommend focusing on, and do we need to learn the models for the OCS exam? So yeah, the fact that you're exempt, it does mean that you need to be careful with the OCS. You know, the E1, F1, P1 theories are not going to be as fresh for you as they are for someone who has sat those exams. So you do need to spend a little bit of time going back on those, which, again, you know, that would point to the value of an all-access membership. If you're an all-access member with VIVA, you know, now would be a good time to go and review the E1 theories. especially the new areas, the digital areas. So E1 has changed a lot. It's changed a lot more than other subjects with the change of syllabus. Also, it's going to be very useful for you to attend, the live sessions we're doing, particularly E1 applied. So there is one session in our live classes for the OCS in May that will take the theories from E1 and they'll be applied to the OCS. So there'll probably be 5 or 6 big theories mentioned there. And that will give you a good idea as to the most important E1 theories that you really need to understand. So once you attend that session, you'd have a better understanding of those theories. And you could also go back to the E1 course and review them in more depth if you need to. So that's a good way to do it as well. And Sanjita's question there on the pass rates for VIVA. It's very hard to get that information, unfortunately, Sanjita. The question is, do you release statistics on VIVA student pass rates? I don't think there's any tuition provider that has exact student pass rates anymore because, privacy laws, GDPR and all of that, because, Cima has that information and Cima cannot share that information with tuition providers. It's private information and they need to be careful with that, and they are. So we're all operating a little bit in the dark, but what I can say is that VIVA, along with 5 other tuition providers, won an award very recently for global pass rate excellence. And what we did was Cima is aware of how some of our students got on in exams, and based on that, they came back to us and said, yes, you exceeded the average Cima pass rates, your group of students, or you didn't. And only 6 tuition providers made that list. There was BPP, there was Kaplan, there was HTFT, there was First Intuition, Wisdom Business Academy, and Viva Financial Tuition. So we were very, very proud of that achievement because, all very good tuition providers, but typically offering courses for much higher price points than VIVA. So that is an indication of, the quality of the courses that VIVA offers, because the students that came on our courses achieved in excess of the average pass marks. So that's what I can tell you on that. We don't have more specific information than that. And other tuition providers, they might have their own sort of guesstimates, but that's all they are. Okay. Any more questions?
I think we've got to speak.
Oh, very good.
I'm looking to speak there.
Minty, let's see. Can we get you in? Okay, I'm accepting you, Minty. Hopefully you can come on screen and ask your question.
Sometimes there's a bit of a delay on this.
Yeah, there is. There's always a delay with this. I don't know what's going on. It's a flawed functionality, it seems. This is not a VIVA tool, by the way. This is not something, this is a third-party tool called Webinar Jam. Generally very good, but the speak functionality is a little bit hit and miss.
I think it normally doesn't it take a few?
Yeah, so let's see. Yeah, let's see if Minty can come on. I've accepted your request to speak, Minty. Hopefully you can join. Elizabeth says, hi, do you have any planned live sessions for E3 soon? Yeah, Minty says there's a time lag. Yeah, okay. Maybe try again, Minty, to request to speak. So yeah, Elizabeth, do we have planned sessions for E3? So I think the next E3 related session would be for the SCS. We would have an E3 applied session. So we'll take the main theories from E3 and apply them to the May 2021 SCS. That will be coming up soon. We'll send out the links to that soon to our All Access members. And then we'll be doing some hotspot sessions for the E3. So we'll be identifying trouble areas from the E3 syllabus that students have trouble with and doing some live webinars on those. Later on in the year, most likely, again, it would be probably sort of September, October, possibly, when we would do those. Again, if you're an All Access member, we'll send those out. Okay, Minty, I accepted your request to speak again there. Oh, fingers crossed you can join. Okay. Any more questions, guys?
You can always type in your question, Minty, if technology fails us.
Okay.
Just actually to follow up on Sanjita's question on pass rates, it is possible to see the overall pass rate for the different exams on the Cima website. They do update routinely. You can see the average pass rates per exam if you wanted. That's some information you can get publicly.
Yeah.
So
still nothing, Minty.
No.
To answer your question.
Can you hear me now? I keep accepting your request, though, Minty.
So Maz has I'll just tackle Maz's question while this is going on. Hopefully, Mint to be able to connect in the meantime.
Yeah.
Maz has a question about PER, which is quite a good question actually. So once a student has passed all 3 levels and submitted the PER, so for everyone who doesn't know what PER is, this is basically what you have to submit after you finish all your Cima exams, professional. Basically, it's a kind of a sheet that just summarizes your work experience. You have to have about 3 years worth of relevant work experience. In my time, you had to do it over the internet, probably the same these days. Is it necessary to continue to pay the Cima subscription? Yes, it is. If you decide to stop paying, can you still class yourself as a Cima qualified accountant? No, you can't. Okay, so that's basically how it works. So what happens is you do have to continue paying your Cima subscription. It is a part of your professional obligation to pay the subscription. If you do not pay the subscription, you can't call yourself Cima qualified. There are rules around saying that you're Cima qualified, not paying your fees. I recommend you look at the FAQ on Cima's website specifically about the process behind not paying fees. I really strongly recommend you pay your fees. If you're ever going for a job interview and someone ever wants to look you up and you haven't paid your fees and you've been disqualified from Cima as a result, you're probably not going to get the job. So, I mean, I've heard people do that in my professional career. So I would strongly urge you to continue paying your fees.
Okay, we've got about 3 minutes left. So time for maybe one more question. Nothing, Minty. I've seen your requests to speak and I keep accepting them, but you're not getting through. So maybe if you want to type your question in. Sorry about that. So, as I said, the replay to this will be sent out to you in the next day, should be. We'll also put this up on our YouTube channel. So we have a YouTube channel, and we're actually active enough on social media. We have a YouTube channel, we have a Facebook page, we have a Twitter account, and believe it or not, we have an Instagram account that was not very used up until this week, and we've been posting a little bit there. So we're going to see if that's actually useful for students. So they're actually useful to subscribe to because we notify about upcoming events, upcoming webinars, upcoming courses. Try to put valuable stuff up there for students. So check us out on those channels, and the YouTube channel. Quite a lot of videos up there actually, and this session will go up in its entirety in the next couple of days.
We've no TikTok yet, though. That's
no TikTok. No,
it's in the works.
It's in the works, right? Who's going to be the TikTok representative?
Not yet. You never know.
Not yet.
The first.
Yeah.
It's a good question, though. It's actually, the first question we've had on PER and qualifying, the whole process behind qualifying. Surprised there isn't more questions about that. So it's a good question from Maz, actually.
Yeah.
So Minty has a question. Okay, can we print the annotated notes on MCS? but we can print these on objective type lectures. Any particular reason why?
Yeah. I think
yeah.
I'll take it because with the case study stuff, Minty, you can print out all of the notes. You can print out the mock exams as well, because it's proprietary VIVA intellectual property, and we recognize that students like to print stuff off from time to time. We ask students to not share those printed notes with others, because we do work very hard on them. But with the objective tests, we've got a BPP text bundled in, and it's BPP's intellectual property. We pay a fee for that, and we have to be very careful with that, because if students download the BPP text, what tends to happen is, not all students, but sometimes a student, often through misunderstanding, will kind of share that text widely, and we'd be in legal trouble, basically, for breach of contract if that were to happen. So we need to be very careful with that. So for that reason, the BPP texts can only be viewed once you're logged into Viva Tuition. Okay. We are working actually on the PDF tool that you view the text through. The one we have at the moment is, we think, a little bit basic. It's fine. But we're looking at a more robust tool that will add a lot of functionality and allow for a more comfortable online viewing experience. That'll be coming in the next couple of months. It's one of the new features we're going to implement. So that should help with the objective tests. Okay, guys, I think we've come to the end of tonight's AMA. Thank you very, very much for attending. We like doing these sessions, and lots of great questions coming up there. As I said, this will go up on our YouTube channel, and we'll actually list the questions under the video as well. So if you want to jump to a certain question, that you can do that. And you should be getting a replay link anyway in the next sort of 24 hours. And keep an eye on your emails. We try not to spam people. We try only to send out useful information about upcoming events and things like that. And if you're sitting one of the cases in particular, keep an eye on your emails. You should already probably have gotten emails with links to free webinar events and things like that. And that's it. We'll do another one of these sessions, I think, probably in a month's time. We'll send out that link very soon. So thank you very much, and take care, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All the best.